Welcome to the Heron Heads podcast. My name is Julio, and I'm joined today by some friends and fellow Inter Miami fans, Dave, Jose, and Chris. And on behalf of the guys, we want to thank you for joining us for episode 5 here on the Heron Heads podcast, your first stop for all things Inter Miami. For those of you watching on YouTube, thanks for stopping by, and make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy the show. Today we'll be taking a look at the upcoming Leagues Cup final game against Nashville SC, as well as our takeaways from the Miami press conference earlier this afternoon, where Messi finally spoke to the local media. So, looking ahead towards the finals against Nashville, Chris, what are your keys to the game?
Keys to the game, I think it's very similar to our last match. It's kind of silly saying it, but this defense looks like it's very, very good. We said the same thing about Philadelphia, and we curb stomped them. But the stats don't lie. Goals allowed against them is the lowest in the league. Their goalie, their keeper is the highest save percentage. I know they changed keepers recently, but it is the highest save percentage in the league as well. So it's just something to take a look at. The defense seems to be very good. Again, we have Messi, we have Jordi, we have Busquets. Is it going to be enough to stop them? My prediction, probably not, but it is something to keep a lookout for.
I think that the key to the game is since we've had Messi on from the get-go, what's been the magic number? 4. We've scored 4 goals, I think, every single game that Messi started. I think that's what we need to continue doing. I think if they reach that 4-goal threshold against Nashville, I don't think there's going to be a chance that Nashville can keep up with that. As good as they may be on attack, I don't think that they have that type of firepower. And I think as long as we pay up to our standards, our new standards, and we score those 4 goals, I think we're safe.
Very very simple. Actually, like Chris said, it's very similar to the last game. We have to have the possession battle won. When we did that last game, we squashed them. We're at, I think, 62% in the first half last game, and that's when we're up by 3 goals. We let up afterwards, and we let them creep up in the possession battle. But ultimately, that's what won us the game. And Nashville seems to just be okay with people having a lot of possession. Like Monterrey in the last game, they had 62% possession and they lost by 2 goals. That's crazy. I don't see that happening against us. If we have enough possession, I don't see how having the ball in our best players' hands can do anything but continue our goals, like David said, at 4 goals, 3 goals. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, our best defense is without a doubt our offense. We know that we have some deficiencies at center back, and that's masked by being able to score with a very high efficiency. We took 4 shots last game on goal, and we scored 4. We took 5 shots total. I think 1 was off target. But yeah, I mean, if we hold possession, we've been saying ahead of every match that that's our formula for success. We have the players that just force a lot of pressure, force a lot of stress on their defenders. And it's different when you say Monterrey has the ball for 60 plus percent possession, whereas we have 60% plus possession and we're scoring just at a very high efficiency. And we have players that are world class, and we have players that generate a lot of space for themselves and for others. So I definitely look at this game, and one of the most important things is for us to continue to hold possession for long stretches of the match, create a lot of stress for their defense, which is probably going to be the most organized defense that we've faced, but eventually find the openings. And with the class that we have, as I said last episode, I'm cocky Miami fan, so I don't think they have an answer unless if they can keep up in a race with us, which they can potentially, but I think we just have too much.
Mukhtar is somebody that I want us to mark. I want us to keep an eye on him. I feel like their goals happen when he has the ball in his hands. my favorite player that they had that they have. We don't really know if he's going to still be injured or not. He was subbed out in the last game. Schaffelberg with his golden locks. It's a shame that we're not going to see him. But you know, if we mark that, if we mark Mokhtar, that's going to help us out a lot.
Yeah, we certainly need to know where he is at all points in the game. I hope that he uses his hands and has the ball in his hands, because that means he's not kicking it around with his feet. He is a problem. He's the reigning MLS MVP, and he has scored boatloads of goals, and he's been with Nashville for a while, so he understands the system, understands where he needs to be tactically, and understands where his teammates are. He's not only a threat to score himself, but to set up everyone around him with assists. He's a problem, and he's a space maker, similar to a lot of players on our team. He's someone to watch. And on the back end, they have Walker Zimmerman, who's maybe my favorite American center back currently. And it's a shame that we're going to have to watch him concede a bunch of goals, but that's just the nature of the beast.
And just to back up David's point a little bit about keeping up with Messi and gang, if you look at the last few games, the scores on them, they haven't really been a high-scoring team in the Leagues Cup at all. It's been, 2 goals, 3, I think maybe one game was 3 goals or something like that. So they're not a very high-scoring team, so they have to keep up with us. Although, like we said, their defense is good. They haven't seen Messi. They haven't seen this new offense that we have. So it is going to be interesting to see if they can keep up with this offense.
And they've allowed plenty of shots on goal. I understand that their goalkeeper has had some nice games, but also their opponents have had some awful chances and
great chances, awful finishes.
Yeah, great chances, terrible finishes, and that's something that they're not going to have that luxury when it comes to Inter Miami. So we'll see. I'm
unless it's Gomez.
You know what? I'll save that. I'll save that for bold predictions. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
A little teaser for later.
Giving us a little taste. Okay.
But Chris, you were saying they don't score a lot of goals. They average 2.5 goals in the League Cup. We're averaging, I believe, 3.5.
That's correct.
Exactly. So,
and remember, that's a little skewed. So Nashville, their last couple games in the Leagues Cup here, they beat Monterrey 2-0. They beat Minnesota 5-0. But Minnesota had 2 red cards in that game. And before they received any red cards, it was 0-0 up to the 40th minute. I think Nashville's first goal was in the 39th. So
yeah,
take that with a grain of salt.
Monterrey could have easily been 3-0.
Agreed. Yeah, the Mukhtar goal was disallowed.
A terrible goal called back, yeah.
Agreed. Against Club America, it was 2-2. Against Cincinnati, it was 1-1. Against Toluca, it was 3-4. Toluca won. That's the only game that Nashville has lost in this tournament. And against Colorado Rapids, it was 2-1.
Those are all great teams, and it's very different from when we played Philadelphia Union, where in the matchup preview we're like, oh, you know, these guys haven't played very good teams. Oh, Nashville has.
Yeah, they knocked off probably the strongest teams from Mexico without a doubt, and Cincinnati's a very strong team. Minnesota's a strong team, so it's a shame that they had some red cards to really kill the game, but they certainly have the pedigree to make this a better game, a closer game than the Philadelphia Union were able to.
I wonder, like, just spitballing, I almost wonder if are we the best team, because up to this point, like, are we the best team that they faced, right? Like, we're gonna say, oh well, Messi, well, but Cincinnati's they're no scrubs. They're the number 1 in the MLS. Right?
I understand that, but like we said, they're number 1 in the MLS pre-Messi. If you start things from when Messi joined the team, there's no conversation that Miami's not the best team in the MLS, and it's a long shot.
We're gonna see Wednesday.
Stay tuned.
Hey, if our defense plays like they've played the last 2 matches, I don't think this game's going to be an issue. I think they're going to shut down that offense, and our offense is just going to score enough goals, 3-4 goals, and not even make it a matchup. But if the defense shows up prior to the last 2 games, then that gets a little questionable. They were a little questionable beforehand. So just another point to watch out for.
It's going to be really interesting to watch. I think we're going to see a game that's more similar to the Dallas matchup that we had. Dallas is very much on the front foot when it came to attacking. They went ahead and attacked our defensive line without any hesitation. And we're going to see that with Nashville. They like to play with a lot of attackers that get forward, try to break the line, try to catch offsides traps. And I am of the belief that Nashville will score goals and we will have some frustrating moments with our defense, which is where hopefully Drake Callender makes a couple key saves and keeps us in the match.
So just a fun fact, now that you said offside traps, Nashville is actually one of the highest, or the teams that has the highest offsides in the MLS. So also something to watch out for with their very aggressive attack. If we kind of catch them off guard and create those offsides, then that'll bode well for our defense as well.
Yeah, hopefully it just keeps them a little honest and prevents a breakaway one-on-one,
right?
Because they can be very clinical. But yeah, they like playing on the front foot. They're on their toes at all times and do not hesitate to get forward. And they bring a lot in attack. I noticed in some of the film that we watched that their wingbacks, similar to ours, get up the pitch a lot. Shaq Moore specifically, like, really crashes the box. He's their right back. He plays for the national team occasionally. But it's going to be a double-edged sword because we're going to have our wingbacks very high up. So if they are able to counter, he will probably advance and have a lot of room to run. But if at that point they turn the ball over, then we're going to have just the same amount of numbers crashing forward. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how aggressive they have the game plan for the wingbacks. I think that's going to be really interesting to watch.
You know what that sounds like? Sounds like a Joseph Martinez start. Get that speed.
I don't think there's any doubt. I think we're going to see the same exact lineup. I'm just going to get that out of the way right now. Same exact lineup for the final.
There's no controversy.
There isn't.
We want it to be, but there's none.
No, but there's none.
Top of mind, he's like, no.
If Tata was starting him last game, now that Joseph has actually scored, he's not going to pull him now. And I'm fine with it. I accept it. It's fine.
Really?
It's fine. It's been working.
Yeah. I think it leaves much to be desired, right? Like we feel like there's certain knuckleheaded games that Joseph has, and we're like, man, I wonder.
He's still figuring it out with the people around him. I also am of the belief that Nashville would probably pose a problem to Campana and his play style. Their defense is just very well organized. I think Zimmerman would just have Campana completely on lock, whereas Joseph has a little more interplay with Messi and Robert Taylor. And it might just make a couple extra gaps that Campana might not be able to make. So I think starting with Joseph, regardless of his form, is probably the right move against this defense.
I think he's a little better for counters. If you're gonna.
Yeah, he's pacey. We know that.
Yeah,
Campana is not that type of player.
Even if he doesn't have that blazing speed he used to have, he can still run around Campana. So certainly. In that sense, this one actually makes sense strategically. So there's no question that that's the right move.
I totally agree. And keeping on with the things that Nashville likes to do, I think one of the areas that we really need to be extremely careful with is set pieces, whether it's free kicks around the box and in our half or corners. I think their corners might be the deadliest that I've seen, at least in the Leagues Cup. Walker Zimmerman is a huge threat on corners. And he's just he's just a big presence, right? He organizes people, and he's not afraid to put his neck on the line and head some goals in with authority.
And it's not just set pieces. Their side throws. They have the ability to do that long throw that they can turn a side out into right. Basically
a de facto set piece.
Yeah. So you have to watch out for even that. So even clearance is something that they have to think about. Okay, where are we going to clear it? Do we just clear it back into the pitch and let reset, or are we going to take the chance of giving them a set piece? So that's something that the defense needs to keep in mind.
I think they are going to be very stressed this game. The defense, our defense.
I'm really worried about that, honestly, because one of the things I saw in the highlights is they like to pressure pretty high up on the defenders when they're passing the ball around. So they're like, yeah, okay, have all the possession that you want. We're just going to try and steal it from Miller or Christoph. That's what we're going to try to do. Hopefully Arroyo can help out, but I think we're gonna need to put Sergio back there because that's one of their tactics. They like
Let's let's see if they actually do that. Because remember, we're worried that Philadelphia was going to press us,
nah.
and then Messi again. It's that Messi factor that teams kind of they get out of their own skin and they stop
forget
doing
what to do.
what they always do. And maybe it's the same thing. I promise that their coach is telling them play within the system, play within the system. We know what we're doing. But when you see Messi right in front of you, you can't help but look at him, and I get it. I'd be looking at him too.
It seems like we're all kind of scared of, or not scared, but worried about our defense as well. I know it's obviously gotten better the last couple of games. Do you guys think that's just a change in mentality from Tata, or maybe just the players were having bad games in the beginning of the League's Cup? Is it more of a scheme thing, or is it just players stepping up at the right moments?
It's probably a combination of a few things, but I would say comfort level with the players around them. Having understanding interplaying with Busquets and Alba a little bit better, and also just their comfort with passes within the system. And we saw Christoph the last two games make some very nice passes to break press opposing teams' presses down. So I think they have just become more comfortable in the system that Tata has employed, and also gotten more comfortable with the new players that are just supporting them.
Right, and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the backs haven't been attacking as much as they were towards the first few games of the League's Cup. I feel like the last match, not that they stayed back, but they just weren't as aggressive. So maybe that could be a factor as well.
We were up a lot too, right? Like it wasn't a very close game, so we never really. The only time I really saw that from us was on that the Dallas game when we're kind of backs against the wall and we're like, okay, let's total football this. Everyone, all hands on deck. You know.
I felt the first half of the last game, the wing backs were pushing up.
Oh yeah.
Of course, the second half we had our backs against the wall for a good portion of that second half. So of course they weren't pushing up, and then we got that extra goal and they subbed out Alba, and I think did they sub? I don't think they subbed out yet. Then not because he had the assist on the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, we just weren't pressing that much in the second half because it was unnecessary.
We also have to remember that the Dallas game was Jordi Alba's first start. The prior game was the Orlando City game where Noah Allen played most of the game and then Alba subbed on. So again, it was just a familiarity with where either fullback is. So Yedlin understanding where Alba is up the pitch and vice versa. So now there's again just a comfort level is understanding if Yedlin's going up, Alba starts cheating back a little bit, or the other way around, and that way there's a little bit more support. And same goes for Arroyo dropping back or Busquets dropping back or Kramaski dropping back. Just the general comfort level across the team makes it that the weaknesses of the defense are covered a little bit by just the understanding of the system. I definitely think that we need to be careful playing out of the press. Some of the names on the Nashville side are a little bit more familiar to just the average person. They have players like Dax McCarty. They have players like Shaq Moore, who we mentioned, Walker Zimmerman up front, Mukhtar. It'll be interesting to see who they play at striker. I saw a couple of people asking for Sam Surge to be playing, who has some pace but also has some size, so it could be difficult to play around him as easily. But it'll be interesting. I mean, Nashville plays every game pretty much in a different formation. Sometimes they play 5 at the back. Sometimes they play a 4-4-2. Sometimes they play a 4-3-3. So they have a lot of flexibility, and they're not afraid to play different styles and just present different options. And it'll be interesting how Tata sets up for that, because we've seen that he's made all the right changes, but we don't know in a situation like this where he may not know how the opposition is going to come out, what he's going to do. I have faith that he's going to figure it out and that our players will figure it out, but that'll be something to watch. So speaking of things to watch, who are your guys' players to watch? Who are you looking forward to seeing back on the pitch? Who do you think is going to have a maybe a bounce back game? What do you guys think?
I'm excited to watch Miller. For me, I think he's going to play a huge role here. Honestly, I'm not excited to watch him. Who's excited to watch a defender, right? But I think in this particular game, Miller's going to serve a huge role in settling our defense back and making sure, hey, Chris passes back and forth to Arroyo, to Christoph, and if they don't, if that's not at 100%, I could definitely see Nashville getting behind us and having some easy shots if they're not on their games. And Nashville, I mentioned Schaffelberg, but obviously, you know, the guy we've been talking about the whole game, Mukhtar, right? He's the guy that it's gonna fall on him for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with someone that that Julio and I have been down on his Joseph Martinez. So I'm looking to see continuity. He obviously had a pretty good game last time, so let's see if he could do it again. If he could really get it going in the first half like he did last time, again, I don't see us having any issues with Nashville's defense at all.
Do it in the final.
Exactly.
I'm looking at Arroyo. I think he often gets overlooked just because of the nature of his position. He's not really pushing up front too much. He's not like one of the studs in the back. So I'm looking for him to play another sound game. He's been stacking games. I think he's been getting better and better every time he's out there on the pitch with these guys. I think we're gonna see him take another step in this game. I think these guys are really gonna be marking our main guys, and I think Arroyo is gonna make a nice contribution to this game. When we get to bold predictions or whatever, we'll hit on that again. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Arroyo does for this one.
So I'm gonna say two people because the first one is Jordi Alba, and I feel like that's a little bit of a cop out. But I'm interested to see specifically how sort of the chess match between he and Shaq Moore. You know, I already mentioned that Shaq Moore likes getting up, and Jordi Alba likes getting up. So I think it's going to be so interesting to see the dynamic of whenever either team has the ball, how far up they go, knowing that their opposite wingback is sort of very willing to attack the space behind. So I think that dynamic is going to be really interesting to watch. But then the non, superstar player, if we're going to say that, the non superstar player that I'm looking forward to seeing is Diego Gomez, who I'm anticipating to be on the bench. But I thought when he came on last game, it was maybe the best stretch of minutes that we've seen from him. I thought he was very smart with his passing, with his possession, bringing the ball up the field. So I'm really interested to see, sort of like Chris was saying with Joseph, I'm interested to see the continuity, continued positive form, hopefully, and what he brings to hopefully see out another Inter Miami victory. So I'm really looking forward to those sort of key pieces.
And one thing you mentioned Gomez, and what's interesting about his last game was that they didn't sub out Kromansky for him like they've been doing in the past, which is interesting. There's just a small wrinkle that basically they're like, wait, why do I have to take him out? He's playing really good also. Wait, what him? I need him to play more. So it's just that, and as this team just gets better and better playing together, we're just gonna keep raising the bar.
Didn't you want Kromansky to be taken off last game?
I did, and you know what? I'm glad they didn't. How about that?
Well, I do think it's an interesting point because we're also still sort of figuring Diego Gomez out as a player and how he fits within our system and where he can play. So I think it's very interesting that chose to do that in the last game to sub out Robert Taylor in place of Diego Gomez rather than the Kromansky Gomez swap that we had been seeing. So, hopefully just another wrinkle that we have in our hat. And it'll be interesting to watch how it plays out. On that note, we can sort of jump right into the predictions. So who wants to be the boldest? Go for it, Dave. Dave Stradamus. What will he say today?
I'm pretty bold. Yeah. So like I said earlier, I think the magic number is 4. And of course I'm predicting a Miami win here. But I think that they score 5 to Nashville's 3. That's why. If they score 4, they're safe. So I think it's going to be a 5-3. It's going to be a shootout. But for another little added wrinkle to my prediction is I expect one of those center mids that doesn't usually get a chance to score to put one on the board, whether it be Gomez or Arroyo. I think one of these guys is going to get involved in the attack, and for once, that ball's going to hit the back of the net, and then we're gonna cheer. I'm gonna take my shirt off, might run around a little bit, and yeah, I want you guys
wants to see that.
visualize that.
So we're confirming that there's a watch party at your house.
Sure.
Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
I'm predicting Miami to have 65% possession. I think
They're gonna say 65 goals, and I was like, Jesus.
You know what? I'm expecting 69% possession, and the reason why is because I think if Monterrey did it, yeah, I think if Monterrey did it, I think we're better than them, and we're playing in way better form. And I think that's going to be the difference in our 4-2 win, and it's going to send us to the CONCACAF Championship Cup, and with a bye week, so that's nice. And Cincinnati next week, we're rolling right in there. That's it.
So I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Miami. I think the Nashville defense doesn't let us get those 4 goals that we've been getting, but I think we still get the 3 goals. Messi obviously gets his 1 goal a game, and I think the other 2 goals, bold prediction, Joseph Martinez makes a comeback.
Back-to-back goals.
Back-to-back.
I like it. So I'm inclined to go more towards Dave's prediction. Not so many goals, but I think Miami's going to win 4-3. I think we'll be up 4-2 late in the game, and Nashville might pull one back and make us start sweating profusely. But as a caveat to my prediction, I think Nashville will receive a red card. I feel like they have somewhat of a propensity to foul, and they seem to have received a lot of red cards leading up to the League's Cup, not so much during, but they did receive a red card against Toluca. But I think they're going to have to be aggressive and physical, and we'll see if they're the first team that's able to have some success with it. But I'm going to say 4-3. Nashville receive a red card, and let's think of a fun score. I think Robert Taylor has just one of those wonder goals that we've seen a couple times throughout the season. I think he's going to have something that's just going to be highlight reel material. So we're all saying Miami, which I'm a big fan of now that I am going to predict a Inter Miami win every single match preview. And with that, we can.
Quick question though. I know we've been used to them scoring pretty quickly. How fast do you think we're going to score?
Ooh, I like this. Let's predict the time of the first.
Is this on the betting line? Is this on the betting line? We never went over that, by the way. But that's what was it last time? Did we score in 7 minutes?
We scored in 3 minutes.
No, we scored in
Joseph Martinez.
Yeah.
So there isn't necessarily. Well,
I don't think we get that quick of a score this time.
The book that I typically reference, they have Messi specials. So a lot of the Messi specials are will he score or assist within the first 15 minutes of the match, and they're all relative long shots because that's pretty difficult to predict. But I like the idea of predicting when their first goal is. So I'll volunteer to go first on this. I think Miami scores in the 17th minute.
I was going to say 18th.
Well, there you can say 18. You
can say
it. Price is right me and say 18.
I'm going to say 18.
17:01. Now I'm going to go with 13. 13 minutes.
8.
Okay.
8th minute.
Did any of us write that down so we can hold ourselves accountable and laugh about who's right?
Maybe we can record this.
Subscribe it.
Maybe we can record this and we'll be able to play it
on
back.
our YouTube page. And come back to it. It's
yeah. Let me double check that I hit record. So with that, we have a few more minutes left here, and I'd really like to get some of your guys' thoughts on the Messi presser from this afternoon. He didn't say a lot. It seemed like at times they were asking him more lifestyle questions and just adjusting to life in Miami, both the city and at the club. But I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on your takeaways, your biggest takeaways from the press conference.
I guess some really big goosies when they asked him about we're kind of worried we're in a playoff run. What what say you if a team has a turf? Would you play on it? And he's like, I grew up on it. That was a threat to me. I feel like he was threatening everybody. Like now, not only do I play on turf, I learned how to play soccer on turf. I also think about
he's been playing on turf fields growing up. I mean, it's normal. It's not anything that's foreign to him. I don't know if it's a threat, but
it's a threat. It's a threat.
I do think that narrative of him not playing, it's almost been circulated as a certainty that he's not going to play on turf. So I thought it was first great that the person, I think it was from CNN Español, that asked him the question, if he was going to be playing on turf or if that worried him. And I'm so happy he just pretty much squashed it. And I'm okay if it's like he might play that game, but it's not a given that he's not going to play that game. So I love that he was asked that question and answered it pretty openly.
Yeah, he didn't mess around with it. Like he said, he's fine with it.
I think the main thing from this presser is he's fighting that diva, like that diva like number that's been given to him. People, I mean, he's considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest player in the world. So you kind of expect him to be a diva, and coming off of his unfortunate stint in PSG, he's fighting that, and he's showing that, yeah, he's just another guy. He's a family man. Everything about him, his move to here was for his family. So yeah, he didn't take more money to go to Saudi. He wanted to be somewhere where his family would be comfortable. He said Miami's an easy move because there's Latinos here, and it feels like home, and everybody seems happy. You can tell that he's happy on the pitch, and that was something that they kept asking him. You seem happy. You seem happy. Well, yeah. This has been a good move, and he feels the love everywhere. He says that going to Dallas, the fans in Dallas were great to him, and yeah, I think he's looking forward to this chapter as being fun.
I think we appreciate him as a player here. We've never really seen a player like this. No, we've never seen a player like this, and he's just playing in our league and he's dominating, and we get to watch it. And that's why look at the Nashville tickets, how much they cost. Good luck, $900 plus, and enjoy.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there, like David said, Messi's happy, man. You could tell he's out there, the biggest smile on his face every time he scores. He's messing with his kids on the sideline. He's here with his family. It's all the Marvel stuff. I mean, it's awesome to see a guy so happy out there and still playing at such a high level. It's it really is it's awesome. Something that he said that was great too is he has no pressure on him anymore. He's got into all. He's at the pinnacle of soccer right now. He's gotten all the awards. He's gotten all the championships. He won the World Cup. He's done it all, So right now he's here to have fun. He's here to be happy, and he's here to hopefully bring Miami a championship as well.
Yeah, do it in the Leagues Cup.
Do the Champions Cup.
Right.
Yeah,
let's win the whole thing,
that was definitely my biggest takeaway too, is his joy of being in Miami, of not dealing with Paris anymore. The joy that just sort of we see on the pitch. We see it every time he scores a goal or when someone else scores a goal, when Miami walks off the pitch with a victory. And his response to, what it would mean for him to come in and for Miami to win their first, major trophy. And, he just said it would be something beautiful for the club, which I thought was so emblematic of how we've seen him on the pitch as fans. I thought it was great. I'm very happy with all his answers. Not like he was going to say anything inflammatory, but I thought taking away just his overall positive energy with being in Miami, I thought it was great.
And so humble too, man. All of his answers were very humble, and
it's so funny.
Refreshing.
You could tell certain reporters were like starstruck that they were in the room, and there was he. What I thought was so interesting was that he tried to find the reporter to actually make eye contact with them and look at them, even though he had the translator in his ear, to just understand the question and give them a appropriate response that was respectful of them. And a couple of reporters almost like stumbled over their questions, and he looked at them calmly, gave them a very warm smile, and just calmly answered. And I thought his professionalism just really shined through, and his humble attitude, and again his joy. So hopefully that translates to another winning effort on the pitch for Inter Miami. And they, again, will be taking on Nashville SC on Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we don't have to deal with kids being awake and running around. Hopefully, we'll be able to put the kids to bed early.
To bed.
And enjoy, hopefully, another Inter Miami victory. And we'll get to see Messi lifting his first trophy in the United States in the MLS in the Leagues Cup. And we will have a recap episode out shortly thereafter. And as always, hopefully we'll be bringing the champagne bottles and pots and pans. So we hope to catch you guys there. And thank you, as always, for joining the Heron Heads podcast, your first stop for all things Inter Miami.